Hi, everybody. This is Gad Saad. I have often made the distinction between deontological ethics and consequentialist ethics, and how important it is to adhere to an ethos of deontological ethics when it comes to foundational principles that define the Western tradition. I talk about this in The Parasitic Mind. I've talked about it at Stanford University when I gave a talk in November. I talked about it when I gave a talk recently at USC. And I keep harping on this point because it really is the mechanism by which you ensure that we stay true to, as I said, those foundational principles that make the West the West. And so when it comes to freedom of speech, freedom of inquiry, journalistic integrity, presumption of innocence, there is no I believe but not for Donald Trump. I believe but not for Hunter Biden's laptop. I believe presumption of innocence but not for Brett Kavanaugh, and on and on. If you violate deontological ethics because of your hatred of a particular individual, then you are immoral. You are and you consider yourself to be a moral person, you're fraudulent. Now, let me put this in the context of a recent movie that I watched. So, I think it was maybe 10 days ago. I can't remember exactly the date, but recently I watched a movie called The Mauritanian, which recounts the story of Muhammadu Slahi, who's a Mauritanian who was picked up right after 9/11 and sent to Gitmo, to Guantanamo Bay, where he spent 14 years in prison without ultimately being charged with anything. So there are two issues here. Number one, uh, is it as a deontological principle, even in the context of the unique circumstances where you're trying to stop people who are hell bent on, destroying the world, destroying anyone who doesn't abide by their ideology? Do the deontological ethics that otherwise should govern a free and enlightened society, do they go out the window? Well, when I watched the movie, I had at one point tears in my eyes. I was angry because of the treatment that Slahi had received in Gitmo. Spending 14 years without being charged with anything is a violation of deontological principles. Torturing someone the way that he was tortured is violating a deontological principle regarding how you should handle uh, prisoners. And so I did not say, oh, but he does look like he's likely to be a nefarious guy. Oh, given my personal history from the Middle East, oh, who cares if we get it wrong with this guy? And he's probably, I mean, if they got him, it's because they know what they're doing. No, my commitment to deontological ethics was such that I was angered by his treatment. Right? Here's a guy who went to Afghanistan, who was training with Al-Qaeda, who one could argue, who knows, he's got all sorts of potential nefarious ties. I don't know if he did or not. By the way, he lived in Montreal apparently for a while. I think for maybe a year. And yet, my commitment to deontological ethics and my commitment for universal brotherhood was such that I didn't see that there is any difference between uh, him and myself in terms of our shared humanity. And I reached out to him. He replied right away, and he now has agreed that he'll be coming on my show at some point soon to chat. So again, imagine a guy who was somewhere in Afghanistan with Al Qaeda. Here I am, the Lebanese Jew who escaped imminent death in Lebanon. Who's had my own relationship with the ideology in question, who says, no, 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 deontological ethics supersede everything. And therefore, I reached out to the guy and we had a short but lovely interaction. And that's how you should conduct your life. There are deontological principles that should never be violated, and you're precisely judged on your moral character as a function of the most severe test of the deontological ethics in question, right? And that's why I'm always quick to point out to the example with the Israelis finding Eichmann in Argentina and bringing him back to Israel to face justice, to have a trial, rather than just pulling a bullet in his head and leaving the country without anybody knowing what happened. Deontological ethics precisely apply to the people for whom we would least likely to extend those principles. Okay, and again, I don't know what Mr. Slahi's real engagement with these issues were with Al-Qaeda, with others, and so on. But what I do know is that he's a human being who should have been afforded a trial in due time, not spending languishing 14 years in prison. How is he going to get back those 14 years? Who should not have been tortured in the way that certainly the movie depicted that he was tortured. My heart was broken when I saw that, because I saw him as a human being who has dignity and who has the right to have deontological principles protecting him. There you have it, folks. Have a great day. Talk to you soon. Cheers.